Welcome to Talking Tech Journeys, hosted by me, Ben Whiteley of BPM Tech. We're delighted to bring you season 1 of Talking Tech Journeys. The aim is clear, to bring you some of the most engaging and respected figures within tech and transformation, providing a snapshot of their journeys to share knowledge, ideas and insights on all things tech and transformation. Sit back, relax and enjoy the journey. Hi, welcome to Talking Tech Journeys. I'm Ben Whiteley and I'm delighted to be joined by Pooja Jobanputra, Midlands Hub Director at one of the world's leading consultancies dedicated to project, program, portfolio and change management, MIGSO-PCUBED, or known as MB, and property development entrepreneur at Key Homes. Really looking forward to this. Thanks very much for joining, Pooja. How are things with yourself?
Yeah, not been too bad. I'm right in the middle of arranging a launch event for our fourth hub here in the UK. So yeah, as you've rightly said, I'm the Midlands Hub Director for MP. But yeah, it's our fourth hub in Birmingham. So it's pretty exciting times for us at the moment. So right in the middle of it, all systems go. But yeah,
Good.
it's good.
We'll look forward to sort of coming on to that further down into the conversation. So yeah, it'd be good just to take you back really, Pooja. So how, why, when did you sort of first become interested in technology?
Well, it depends how far you want to go back. I kind of started as a child, a massive love for science. My parents had introduced me to, my first Meccano set, my Lego, my chemistry set, and it almost kind of started from there. And as Asian parents, they were always really, really driven. My parents were immigrants from Uganda, Kenya, so they came over sort of very early on when they were young as well. My dad worked nights. My mum had 4 jobs at any one point in time, so you can tell that there was a lot of discipline in the house. And although it's kind of started with I wanted to do pharmacy, I'd gone off, done my A levels, chemistry, biology, maths, did really well in that, but I just couldn't see myself doing that forever. I wanted something a little bit more. I had a real love for maths, for physics, and all things tech. When I was growing up, technology was only just emerging. Google wasn't quite around, but it was just emerging at that point in time. But it was just so interesting, and I knew that I could do something more. But obviously, I still had the thing about science, and I still wanted to be in that space. So really strange. I kind of randomly went down the list of all the university degrees and thought computer science. Those two things together look really nice.
Right. Yeah.
Let's give it a go. And I thought, well, you know what? I went back home, went to my dad, and I said, Dad, I really want to do computer science. He went, you what? What do you mean? We're supposed to have you doing sciences, be a doctor, something like that. I went, no, let's do computer science. So that's how it kind of started. So yeah, it was this young little 20-year-old going, yeah, let's go do computer science. It sounds like so much fun. Let's go up and do that. But obviously I still had health and NHS and science and wanting to still be that pharmacist, doctor type person. So what better than working in the NHS doing health tech? And that, there's been no looking back from there. I cannot say that I regretted even a small part of it. There was parts in there where I thought, oh, am I really going to do it? Are the NHS going to accept that if you're not a doctor? But health tech ended up just booming. It became such a big thing. In the end. But yeah, that's my my little story.
Good. So I mean, like say, I know you've got a passion for sort of the you spent a lot of time in health tech and obviously, in sort of technology focused positions, project, program, change, etc. So, I mean, just in terms of your first job, obviously you've touched on your degree briefly there and obviously your time at the NHS. So, what was your first job and how did this sort of shape and set you on your journey?
So I started my first job. So as soon as I graduated, I got a job at the NHS. I was in Nottingham for mental health, the NHS sort of healthcare background. So I'd started doing IT support. Now, a lot of people kind of snuff their nose at that and go, oh, if you start in IT support, you're never going to get out of it. You're never going to be able to do anything more than that. But on top of that, being this young 20-year-old girl that kind of came out of university, where even at university you had maybe 5-7 girls in the course.
Yeah.
I went straight into IT tech, where I was trolleying around large PCs and things like that across different sites and all of those things. And you'd get people nudging each other, going, "It's a girl, it's a girl." I'm going, "Yes, guys, it's a girl, it's a girl trolleying this thing across to you, this computer, and I will fix it. Don't worry about it." And my name got around quite quickly, and I'd moved up the ladder fairly fast as well, because people liked what I did. I worked hard, and it wasn't easy, but it was hard work. But it was satisfying. I knew that I was making a difference. But I kind of moved into that, out of that into project management pretty much straight after.
Yeah. I think technology support is a good foundation, good base, in terms of dealing with sometimes tricky stakeholders, deadlines, etc. So, I mean, did you have any sort of mentors, challenges, any sort of doubts that you were making that right career choice?
Do you know, I'm a firm believer of do good, and you'll get good. And that's pretty much what ended up happening, actually. I knew that I was working hard. I knew that I'd work long hours. I got to know the right people. I always knew that follow your heart and everything else will just happen. It all fell in place in that kind of way. In terms of mentors, my parents were definitely massive advocates. My dad pushed hard. But I think on top of that as well, I was really, really lucky to have good managers all the way through. Whether I look at it when I was working for the NHS or even when I was working at CSC, ISOFT, all of those days, I look at the managers that I actually had. I knew what good looked like. I knew what I wanted to be and where I wanted to head. My managers were always an inspiration. And I'm hoping that throughout my career that someone else, that works for me can kind of go, that's what good looks like. A good manager is that's what leadership really looks like. And starting in the IT support space means that you understand what happens, right in the beginning when you graduate, and you understand what happens at the top as well. Putting those things together and being empathetic actually works quite nicely. So I would say those were massive influences.
Good. So obviously, further on down your career journey, you've touched on it briefly, ISOFT, CSC, Health Trust Europe, obviously, primarily sort of health tech sector. Be great just to understand sort of your journey, because I know it's sort of a big chunk of your experience and career to date.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I started in IT support, but even in support, I always knew that I wanted to do little projects. I always had the opportunity of getting small projects and build software. So whether it was building a small database somewhere for the NHS or building a hub where people can order things from, I'd gone in and I'd build it. I'd build something for them just to make their lives easier. So that's where it pretty much had started. And when I joined ISOFT, I was doing lots of software support for A&E, for theatre systems, large EPR, the PAS system. And then I moved on to kind of working for large transformation. So everyone will have heard of, National Programme for IT. I'm proud to say that I worked for National Programme for IT, even though it wasn't the most successful project. And, if you Google about that, you wouldn't say, oh, yeah, that was the gold standard or anything like that. But it was so early days that change management wasn't a big thing at the time. So I would say that the systems were good, systems going into it, but the drivers behind it was very much, you must do this, you must go away and do that. This is a system that you've got to take, whether you like it or not. I don't care that you're a doctor or a consultant. Probably not as harshly as that, but that's how it felt for a lot of our stakeholders. And I think that's where the key failings really were, that they didn't take people on the journey. Moving forward 10, 15 years, you look at that now, people wouldn't even dream about putting a system in until they looked at the change management, all of that kind of thing. But that's what I would say would be a big thing in terms of the system, the health tech sector itself. I've worked with international colleagues. I've worked in India, Germany, Holland. I've worked in all of these different spaces, and people always wanted to do good for it, and it made me the person that I am, definitely, because moving from CSE into Health Trust, then getting a directorship, the directorship during that time,
Yeah.
and kind of leading into that space. I'm not going to say it was an easy journey at all. Like being a young woman in IT, not really having too much experience to start with, having to build my career, knowing full well that you may or may not make it. It may be that case. I mean, there was a point in time during my time when I first started, I'd applied for a role as a team leader. I knew that I was good for the job. I knew that I could get that job, but I didn't because the senior management went, yeah, she's too young. I'm not sure someone would say that now, but that's the kind of thing that you would tackle. She's too young. I'm not sure whether anybody's really going to listen to her. No one's really going to follow her. It's not really going to be the case. So those are the kind of things that you're going to hit in a journey, and I bet people still kind of hit that space. Really, it's not easy being in the IT sector, being a female, trying to sort of navigate all of these things, and not having all of that experience under your belt. I think that's something that I would really pull out.
So what was sort of being, head of, leader, director, was that always the plan?
Yeah, I think I always wanted to be something, only because of the fact that when you're a head of or a director, you have a duty. You have a duty to your people. You have a duty to the business. It also means that you could truly make a difference. So you can be sat in these board meetings and go, no, this is how I think the strategy should be. This is how I think that the people should be, and this is the actions that we need to take off that. I'm a real action taker. I don't sit at a board meeting and sit back and relax and kind of go, oh yeah, someone else will go away and do that. I'm a manager, I'm a director, therefore someone else is going to do it. I roll up my sleeves and go, right, what are the actions that will move us forward? What's next? How can we move this business forward? How do we work together? How do we collaborate to move that forward? And that's not just in healthcare or in directorship overall. That then had to move into me, being an entrepreneur, starting my own business up. Again, that was very much of a man's world in terms of, if you're looking at property development, there's a lot of guys in there that will be builders, will be construction, will be in that construction space. So breaking into that, you do have to have a lot of confidence and a lot of drive, I think, to move forward.
I mean, how did you sort of juggle, your full-time role with obviously the entrepreneurial property development sort of side of things?
Well, so obviously I'd moved across in my career. I'm very career driven, so I'd moved very quickly up the ladder. And when I got married, my husband kind of went, you know what, we need to start a business. It'd be really good. I didn't want to just start it, wake up one morning and go, yeah, let's just start it. I wanted to go off and do some courses, and that's exactly what we did. We got accredited. I'm accredited landlord. It works in property development. I wanted to get to know the councils, so I started to do that. But juggling the two was it was difficult, because you do your 9-to-5 job, and a lot of the time, being a director, it's never really a 9-to-5 job. So you're doing all of that. But it also meant that I've got 2 kids and dealing with those. And then as soon as they go to sleep, up until from 8 o'clock until 12 o'clock, it was all about property development and managing that business, building the strategy, knowing what we were going to be doing without losing lots of money, working with some of our investors to make sure that we weren't losing their money. It's those kind of things. So juggling all of that. But I think people believed in us. We built a really good team around us, whether it was being a director and building that team around me, or whether it was in business. We built a fab team around us. Our power team is what we like to call it. The power team has got to be there. You cannot do any of these things on your own. So whether it's with your partner or whether it's with your team itself, make sure that those people are around you are people that you can trust, that you can really work with, and just be there with you all the way through.
No doubt a lot of transferable skills from, project program management, risk, demands, high pressure situations. So probably put you in good stead to juggle both.
Yeah, I think when you're a project management through and through, It definitely helps. It definitely helps. It means that you're organizing. I mean, I'm looking around my room actually, and I'm looking at my whiteboard, and I've got a list of what things I've got to do, what my partner's got to do, what my
Yeah.
reminders are, sticky bits of paper. I've got notes, post-it notes all over the place. My phone, my phone will have to-do lists coming out my ears. So yeah, project management through and through works definitely well. You can transfer it across to whichever sector you're in, I would say.
Yeah. Which falls nicely into, I suppose, the easy world of consultancy. So yeah, you leave healthcare for consultancy. So I appreciate, obviously, you know, we're going to talk about MP more in terms of who they are and what they're at, or what they're about. But I mean, how was that sort of transition from healthcare provider to consultancy?
Well, do you know what? MP isn't consultancy as you know it. Just to give you a bit of background on it,
Yeah.
it's not consultancy as in you'd come to me and say, write me a business case, tell me what I should be doing. What we go in and actually do is we actually do it. We don't say this is what you do and this is how you do it. We actually go in, we work with our clients in partnership with them, and we deliver. Literally, we would deliver. So I've got a team of project managers, senior project managers, program managers. You know, we've got
Yeah.
a team set up and ready that have been through, similar to me, all walks of life. They've been
Yeah.
in so many varied roles that they bring that experience with them. And what we offer to our clients is not only that experience, but also the reach back that goes with it. So it's not that kind of consultancy. So if you look at healthcare, for example, when I was working for National Programme for IT, we'd gone straight into, so I was working for CSE at the time, we'd gone straight into the NHS, we'd gone, right, these are the systems that we would develop, we'd work with them and say, how would you want your system to work? In a similar way to MP, that's exactly what they do as well. They don't build a system, yes, but what they do is they go into the client site and they would go, right, how would you like this program to look? This is how we would recommend it looks. We will integrate all of our project managers directly into their site where you wouldn't even be able to tell that they're a different person. The only way that you can tell that they're a different person is because of the fact that they will have so much other experience and they will have their reach back. You know, systems, the tools, all of those things, they'll add those things to it as well. So I wouldn't say I've left healthcare. We do still work quite heavily in NHS. We do work with private hospitals as well. But like I said, it's, you know, we work in energy, we work in aerospace, defense, all of those spaces. All of that can still be public sector. So project management, whether it's there or whether it's healthcare, is still the same. So the switch hasn't been that hard. The people at MP are just absolutely amazing. So yeah, I got settled in fairly quickly in a very, very rapid way there as well.
Touched on briefly at the beginning, it'd be good to sort of discuss a bit further. So, you know, you say it's exciting times for MP, and obviously your job title is Midlands Hub Director. So it'd be good just to put a bit of context and, you know, ultimately understand what your role and responsibilities are now, Pooja.
Yeah, so like I said, this is our fourth hub. So we've already got a headquarters. Basically, it's a French company. It's part of the Alton Group. So our UK headquarters are in London. They've got another office in Bristol. Manchester opened up last year. So Birmingham was the fourth one. So my role in all of this is basically to manage number one, the launch of the Birmingham hub, but also to manage the consultants that are assigned to the Birmingham hub. So the idea with the hub structure really is so that we want to work with our Midlands colleagues. So anybody that's around, you know, working in and around the Midlands. So there might be customers that are based in the Midlands. You know, post-COVID, people want people on site. And it meant that if you were taking a project manager from London, or if you're taking one from Manchester, they wouldn't really be on site as much, or they wouldn't be able to be on site as much as you would if they're down the road in Birmingham. The idea, like I said, I think I said it before as well, that you integrate them within that team. And the only way to do that is if you know Birmingham really well, or if you know the Midlands really well, you talk and say the same sorts of things. You understand each other. You're much more empathetic. You understand that being in the office or, you know, working remotely, whichever works for that particular business, it's okay, and that's how it works. But as the Midlands Hub Director, it means bringing those two things together, making sure that my consultants are happy, that they're not, the work-life balance is correct, so they're not traveling up and down the country, because
Sure.
we try and get as much for them locally, but also to bring the clients and making sure that they're also happy. So bringing those two things in collaboration, and then obviously my P&L, you know, if we're charging for a consultant service, we're a commercial hub, so
Yeah,
making
sure.
sure that that fits nicely with how much we're paying our consultants, because you want to pay them well, you know,
Yeah,
it's got to work well. But
sure.
yeah, that I would say in essence is really my job, and making sure that our clients are happy, and if I need to go on site, I would be on site as well. So that's really my role as the Midlands Hub Director.
Good. I know you're a big advocate for the value of sort of project management. So, I mean, what role do project managers play for competitiveness of a business?
So I'm glad you asked this, actually, because people just don't. I genuinely find that people don't really understand the value of project managers. You know, we always used to have a running joke about, if there's a PM on it, you know it's going to be successful. It'll be run on time, and people are held accountable, and that's really key. I think project managers play a pivotal role in the competitiveness of an organization. You know, when you've got a business that says, right, we have X number of project managers that work with us, they'll work with your projects. I just think there's so many different dimensions that they would add to it. And just to name a few, I mean, you can bring in things like strategic alignment. You know, how do you bring your strategy to life? It shouldn't really be a document that just sits in the background that the execs build up. How do you
Yeah.
make that into actions? That's what a project manager, a program manager does. How do you adapt to the changes? So if there's market changes, so in the property world, there's always changes happening in terms of the councils might go, actually, this rule's now changed, building regs are going to
Yeah.
change now.
Yeah.
You can't build this here. It's a green belt. You can't do anything with it. How am I going to do that? I've just bought this piece of land. What am I going to do with it? How does that move? The project manager has to think really quickly with that. And same for healthcare, for example. I mean, in healthcare, NHSE may have all these legislations that all of a sudden might change. Elections are coming up. What happens? We have to plan for those things. How do we make sure that any rules that are changing, anything that's compliance, you know, governance, how do we make sure all of that happens? A project manager adds all of that value to it. Operational efficiency would be another one, I'd say. Looking at your resources, are my resources overworked? How can I introduce process improvements? You know, a massive advocate of process improvement, continuous improvement. I am a Lean Six Sigma black belt. You know, I love process efficiencies and looking into those spaces and kind of going, well, you've got this process, you look at this and you kind of go, well, where can I build the efficiencies? Can I put technology over it? I guess that's what healthcare are constantly looking at.
Yeah.
And I mean, AI just seems to be a massive buzzword, but without
Yeah,
bringing
sure.
AI into it, how do you make a tool do something that doctors don't always need to do, or consultants don't really need to do that piece of work because they can really be facing the patients? All of those things, project managers look at the bigger picture and they will kind of go, yeah, there's so much more. You can manage the risks. If there's a crisis that happens, who comes up first? You know, project manager will go, I'm putting my hand up. I know what to do with this. Don't worry, guys, we'll fix it. This is what we need to do with it. And whilst everybody else is running around having a bit of a panic because they're so siloed and looking at just at the job that they are doing, because they'll go, well, that's not my problem. They'll chuck it over the fence and someone else.
Yeah.
How do you make sure that the baton is passed from one person to another correctly? Speed to market is another one. So, you know, if you've got a project manager on there, how do you quickly move with the market? How do you quickly move, ensuring that you're not just wasting lots and lots of money? You know, financial management is another one. I think the biggest piece, though, for all of these things that I've mentioned would be stakeholder management, relationship management.
Yeah.
MP have recently I mean, I say recently, but you know, they've been looking at this tool because they found that relationship management, a lot of people, when you question them, they've interviewed all these CEOs, and you question them and you say to them, how do you measure a good relationship? A lot of people will go, well, you know, it's if I can go to the pub with them, or if I can have a bit of fun with them. Can I have banter with you? Do you enjoy what I'm saying? Are we on the same level? Do we resonate well? But that's just you saying that, or that's just one person talking about their interpersonal relationships. But if you're looking at business relationships, how does that work? It's so important that, for example, if you've got mergers, acquisitions, things like that, private equity firms might go off and they'll buy all these different companies to make lots of money for them. But how do you ensure that they're all going to be doing exactly the same thing without really annoying all of those companies? Or how do you then take on, even with a new project management company, for example, if you want to work with me, MP, you want to work with us, how do you ensure that you're onboarding us correctly and our expectations are set correct?
Sure. Yeah.
What MP have done is they built this tool out. They've been working with various universities to build a research paper on that, because it's just so important, and people don't value it as much as you really should. We put things on the risk register. As a project manager, I might put things on the risk register to say, relationships. What if a relationship breaks down? What are your mitigating factors for that, though? People will just go, just get on with it. No, get on with that person, and you have to make it work. I've put millions into this particular acquisition, for example. Get it to work. I don't care what happens. But what MP have done, they've built up this tool, and they've kind of said, right, I'm going to bring these two things together, and you can physically measure how that works. Now, that is a USP for them. So obviously, if anybody wants to talk about that, come and have a chat with me, because we can do that.
Yeah.
But
I was just going to say, it's really interesting, in terms of not giving away the secret sauce or USP of the business. But so you're working with universities to actually sort of try and sort of back that up in terms of what scientifically, or what would there be a specific outcome of this relationship management tool?
Yeah, so the outcome would really be, we'd build up this tool because there's obviously a science. There is a science behind it, because the human mind is the way it works, right? It could be the psychology behind it. It could be that there's certain things that people always value. I mean, so many of the people that we interview will go, trust is such a big thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, Ben, if I'm talking to you, if I said to you, do you trust me, Ben? You go, yeah, of course I do. Okay, how much? How much do you trust me? On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you really trust me? And you go, oh, I don't know how that is. But then if you ask me the same question back, I mean, how many times are you going to ask me the same question back? What if I say, oh, I don't know, I kind of trust you, but I don't trust you that much? But in order for that relationship to work, we have to trust each other pretty well, because both of us are saying that that's a key thing.
True.
So, but again, you have to measure that. How do you measure that? And it's not just a one-to-one thing. It's got to be business to business. How do you measure the success factors of that relationship? That's the key question, and I think that's something that really should be explored by all businesses. In that kind of depth.
It's interesting because obviously the relationship is based on, like, say, trust, but people, and obviously BPM Tech, that's our business, is people. And we work with a psychometric profiling company, and we will ask businesses, what does good look like for you in terms of that job family, whether it be project managers or testers or you name it, and often people can't really quantify it. So it's certainly interesting. I mean, just in terms of obviously stakeholder management, stakeholder engagement, were there any sort of key takeaways in terms of how you engage and manage stakeholders with sort of diverse interests and priorities?
So I mean, there's two parts. If you look at, so I'm going to give you two different examples, but they are very diverse. If I look at National Programme for IT, you look at that and you kind of go, there were so many different stakeholders in that. They had 7 trusts that they wanted to all go on the same system. They all wanted the same EPR, same integration systems. That was the idea. You had the government who was saying, we're going to give you this amount of pot of money. And then you had the NHS who were going, oh, I don't know, don't really know whether to do this. I don't really know whether I should do this. I don't know if it's good for me. I haven't got the time to do this. And clearly they haven't got the time for it because they're just so overworked. But we knew that this was a good thing, right? So we knew that we had to get something done. It wasn't about the money. It was about doing something good for the nation.
Yeah.
But I truly believe that it was because of relationships that it fell over. I wish this tool was available to me at that point in time. that you can kind of go, right, let's get all these people in a room, let's put this tool in use. How do we make this most successful? And I think that would have really helped it. I'm not saying that that's the only thing,
Yeah, sure.
but I do wish that that was available at that point in time. And managing those stakeholders isn't going to be easy because they're all very different. Everybody is pulled in different directions. I was there as, a project manager. I was there as a product manager. For me, all that mattered was, is my product good?
Yeah.
But really, I should have gone to the NHS and gone, what does good look like?
Yeah,
how do you measure that? That's what I should have really done.
Yeah.
But I didn't, because someone else was doing that and we were throwing things over the fence. And then another example of that would be things like, in the property management world, when I'm working on a building site, for example, I've got builders who who need to understand exactly what's in my head. What do I want to look for?
Yeah.
I'm working with architects. I'm working with councils. Councils, a lot of the time, all they care about is ticking the boxes and making sure that you've paid them correctly, and then the plans fit for what their bigger business is, right? So they've got to think a little bit more strategic. For me as a property developer, I've got to make sure, number one, I'm making the money and the builders are happy, and by the end of it, I've got this sustainable, product, or this house or whatever it is that I'm actually building, or apartments that I'm building. But at the same time, I've got investors that also work in there. All the investors are going to care about is, how are you going to grow my money, asleep? It's that. So we work quite heavily with investors, and these are people that don't want to risk managing the properties. They don't want all the risk that comes into it. And what they do is they work with key homes, and they kind of go, right, how do I make my money work harder? So banks may give you, and banks is another one as well, because banks will just go, just give me money. It's all about the mortgages. Banks may give you 2 to 5% on your savings, whereas key homes might give you 8%. So how do we beat the banks and think outside the box? So as a property developer, you've got to think then outside of the box, which is so different to the way the national program. But really, they should have thought about it commercially as well. So if everybody had thought about it commercially in the same way that you think about things commercially in the property development space, I think you find that our projects are so much more successful. When I look at my property portfolio, you kind of look at that and you go, actually, we've done some pretty big things. I mean, right now, I'm right in the middle of launching 6 apartments in the middle of town centre. It's those kind of things. Has it been easy? No, of course it hasn't. Have my investors been on my back? Yeah, of course they have. It's all of those. But have my investors won lots of money? Yes, they have. They've got lots of money out of it because I've made money. It's got to be a win-win. It's all about negotiation, going back to the stakeholder management. Can I negotiate well? Because everyone is different. Everybody wants something different. Everybody wants a piece of the pie, but in different kinds of ways. So how do we negotiate the win-win in all of that? There is no way that anybody should be able to say, if you're negotiating something, you come to the table with an open mind, and you should be able to say, how does everybody win? Not that, how am I going to win? There is no way you're going to have a deal if you're going to say, how do I win? And it goes back to the point that I made right in the beginning. Do good, get good, right? It's got to be the way. Give back to society, give back to the community. And I think, being the Midlands Hub Director in Birmingham, I feel like I can do good for the community. I can give back to Birmingham. I mean, I came to Birmingham when I was about 10 years old. I was born in Derby, came into Birmingham. Birmingham and the Midlands in general has given me so much. And being now the Midlands Hub Director means that I can get involved in charities. I can do good. I can add all of the things that I've listed in terms of the value that project managers add. I can give it back to society and give it back to my community and go, guys, we can really do something special here. We can do something great here. Get a project manager on board, get it to work. It can really be, that's your sweet spot. That's what that can really work for anybody, whether you're a charity or whether you're in defence or whether you're healthcare. It doesn't matter. Do good, be good. It's what it's all about, I would say.
Well, certainly one of the takeaways, and obviously very passionate about it. So well, look, many thanks for your time today, Pooja. Great talking and lots of great takeaways.
Thank you for having me. It's been lovely chatting to you, Ben.
Good. Just lastly to the listeners, thank you. And obviously keen to hear your thoughts on the key to relationship management and the value project managers bring to business success. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed Talking Tech Journeys, and we'll catch you next time. Good company and colleagues in a career make the journey more rewarding. If you did enjoy, please take a moment to subscribe, rate and review us on your favourite podcast platform. It really helps us reach more listeners like you. Don't forget to follow and join the Talking Tech Journeys, the podcast group on LinkedIn, where you can join in debate and message us directly if you'd like to be considered as a guest, have any questions, comments or topic suggestions. You can also email ben.whiteley@bpmtech.co.uk. Until next time, enjoy your journey.